Hey everybody, I'm Michael with Blacks for Trump. We got the Yahweh brothers here. We got all our brothers right here. The other brother, he trying to hide over there. We got all our brothers. And we are all here to say, please, President Trump, pardon Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Yahweh
Ready?
Ben Yahweh.
Pardon Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Thank you, sir.
I am the mother of Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I love you, Junior. You were my first and I love you. Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
I'm expecting Ben Yahweh to be free. Never give.
Yahweh, Beth Nun Sophie, Yahweh, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, is the spiritual leader of the nation of Yahweh, Yahweh. In 1979, he came to Miami, Florida, under a vow of poverty, with little more than the clothes on his back, with a sincere determination to educate people concerning the laws of God, Yahweh, and to build a social economic program designed to move the so-called blacks from poverty to riches.
But I have seen what he has done. I'm from Miami, Florida. Prior to the arrival of Brother Yahweh Ben Yahweh in Miami, every year, literally every year in Miami, Florida, there were riots. Black people were taken to the streets. They were frustrated, and they were taking out their frustrations in riots. I've seen buildings burned. I've seen looting. I've seen lives taken, people killed by police and people killed by one another. Utter chaos. And then along comes Yahweh Ben Yahweh. And these same brothers and sisters who were on the street, frustrated. This brother came along, and I've seen him working in the streets, urging brothers to come in. First of all, recognize God, and recognize God can help you. And I've seen the brothers come in and clean themselves up and make men out of boys. And I've seen him make women out of street women. So I can see a positive work that Brother Yahweh Ben Yahweh has done in Miami, Florida.
I have seen him take a person with feet of clay, his whole body being clay, and I have seen this man work a miracle. He makes that person into a real person with pride, who stands up and looks you in the eye and can recite from Shakespeare, from the Bible, from scientific publications. This man is an educator.
I have found that following the principles of Yahweh had caused me to be a wise woman.
And so, in addition to being moral and in addition to being principled, the Yahwehs have shown blacks in South Florida that through working together and coming together in a common bond, that we can, as a race, move forward.
In 1990, the federal government indicted the nation of Yahweh, a bona fide religion, and its spiritual leader, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, under the RICO Act.
There were two charges, technically. Well, actually three. There was a racketeering charge of what we call a substantive charge of racketeering, and then conspiracy to racketeer, and then there was a third charge, which was only charged against Yahweh Ben Yahweh and I believe Judith, essentially extortion.
So this, although there were murders involved, this was not really a murder case. What the federal prosecutors had done is had put together a bunch of murder cases and called it a racketeering case. Now, racketeering is a very complicated thing. Quite frankly, most judges don't understand it. Few lawyers understand it.
The arrest of Yahweh Ben Yahweh and some of the members of the Nation of Yahweh was a result of a federal indictment handed down by the United States Southern District Grand Jury. alleging 19 acts of conspiracy to commit RICO, including 15 acts of murder, 2 attempted murders, 1 arson, and 1 extortion.
If you can't prove a specific crime against somebody, the best thing to do is to charge them with 50 crimes, get a bunch of people to get up there and say bad things about them, and put the jury in a position of either letting this person who you said is a bad person go free or charging them a little bit. It's sad but true. The general technique of any conspiracy or RICO case is to create innuendo and a suggestion of an agreement.
A lot of people don't understand what RICO is. And that's why when we had to talk to the jury and explain to them what is RICO, I believe they had a hard time understanding it. Well, heck, I have a hard time understanding it. And I took the position during the trial that it's wrong to indict the nation of Yahweh in a racketeering enterprise. And let me once again preface this. I don't want people to have the impression that I'm an apologist for the religion or that I'm in favor of it or against it. I'm just a lawyer. I'm not a theologian. I have my own personal religious beliefs. I have my own personal background. I just think it's a problem if you indict a bona fide religion.
The Racketeering Act, which RICO stands for Racketeering and Organized Crime, was a law passed in the early 1980s, targeted at traditional organized crime, the so-called mafia or Cosa Nostra. Because of the First Amendment issues that surround and protect religion and religious preachings, the idea of indicting a religion as the criminal enterprise was quite frankly shocking. And they actually indicted and charged that the nation of Yahweh itself was the racketeering entity or enterprise. Quite frankly, these were the issues. The fact that a religion was targeted as a racketeering enterprise were what I felt were the really potent issues, and quite frankly, it was one of the main things that drew me into the case, because I thought that this was, first of all, I was somewhat shocked by it. I thought it was an abuse of the Racketeering Act by the U.S. Attorney's Office down here, and felt that it was necessary to get in and do what I could.
This is the first time, to my memory, that a religious organization was indicted by way of the RICO statutes.
In your opinion, does this set a dangerous precedent? For example, the anti-Catholic Church, or the Nation of Islam, or even other nations, other sovereign nations?
I could give you the glib remark, and that is, obviously that's a rhetorical question, but not taking it rhetorically, I think it does in fact represent a dangerous precedent, and who knows who's going to be the next victim of this particular use of the statute. It's extremely broad, and all the prosecution really has to do is to fashion some set of facts, allege certain particular acts, such that it would fall within the 4 corners of the legislation, and you can conceivably be charged as a result of that.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh were targeted for destruction by the federal government. The United States government has a history of incarcerating innocent black leaders. It is almost a badge of honor for a black man to go to jail in this country. There's an actual pattern of human rights leaders, civil rights leaders, and community leaders being falsely accused and wrongfully imprisoned by the federal government. Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King Jr., and Reverend Ben Chavis are all innocent men who have gone to jail. South Africa and India have also jailed innocent leaders, which is why Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi went to jail. History has shown that because a man is accused does not mean he is guilty. Because a man is convicted does not mean he is guilty. Jesus is a case in point.
Jesus was accused of being a malefactor, which is a liar, a murderer, a robber, and a thief. Historically, whenever a person of color becomes too powerful in this country, the government finds a way to take him down. Recently uncovered documents from former FBI officers show that the Bureau has been engaged in an overt program to expose, disrupt, and discredit or otherwise neutralize black leaders and organizations in this country.
25 years ago, the only blacks allowed on Miami Beach were servants and gardeners who had special passes. Now Yahweh Ben Yahweh owns part of that beach, and that in Miami means money and power.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh had done certain things that made him a target. That he was a black man and he was getting political power. His race, combined with his growing economic and political base, made him a prime target. That alone put him under scrutiny.
It is clear that Yahweh Ben Yahweh was set up by the American government. The only conspiracy going on was the conspiracy of the government to destroy Yahweh Ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh had no motive to commit the murders he's accused of. Why would a man whose followers wielded the power of millions of dollars care about killing people, especially when there were no possible threat to him, many of which were vagrants living on the street? Interestingly enough, Jim Baker of the PTL Club fame, who according to government officials had defrauded hundreds of people, and who was convicted of stealing millions of dollars for his personal use, was not charged by the government with racketeering. This lack of even-handedness in prosecuting blacks and whites is evidence of systemic racism rampant in our federal courts.
Herb Cousins, the FBI case agent, had Yahweh Ben Yahweh's temples under scrutiny for, I believe, since about 1982 or 1983, according to his testimony in trial. That it was Herb Cousins' job for the last 10 years to get Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
But it was very clear from the beginning that the aim of the prosecution, or one of its aims, was to put Yahweh Ben Yahweh in jail, to put these other folks in jail kind of incidentally, and just to make things look fair. And equally as important was to stop the financial life of the organization, because by crippling it financially, you can then cripple anyone. And that, I think, was the reality of the situation, to put the nation of the Hebrew Israelites out of business.
On November 7th, 1990, the federal government orchestrated a surprise raid on the nation of Yahweh. The raid encompassed 5 states, during which time everyone from senior citizens to preschool children found themselves at gunpoint. Both males and females were handcuffed, strip searched, and forced to lay in the streets. There was no resistance. No weapons were found. No drugs were found. In fact, there was nothing illegal found at all. Yahweh Ben Yahweh and 16 of his followers were arrested and held without bond pending trial.
And quite frankly, if you believe the presumption of innocence, and that is that a person is innocent until proven guilty, then what occurs now is you have people who are being jailed, who are presumed innocent, and yet are being held in prison awaiting trial. You still have the right to bail, provided that you're not within a certain class of people. But in reality, in federal cases, there is no right to bail anymore. It's gone.
Attorney General Janet Reno has always said, says a prosecutor's first obligation is to make sure that innocent people are not charged. This prosecution tore up the lives of innocent people.
On January 6, 1992, the case of the United States of America versus Yahweh Ben Yahweh went to trial in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida. This contains a listing of the key evidence that clearly shows Yahweh Ben Yahweh is innocent, like the fact that no physical evidence was ever found that directly links Yahweh Ben Yahweh to the commission of any crime. In both the federal and the state cases, Robert Rozier, a pathological liar, confessed serial killer, nicknamed Lying Bob, and paid informant, escaped death in the electric chair by agreeing to testify against Yahweh Ben Yahweh. The case of the United States of America versus Yahweh Ben Yahweh was built around the testimony of one man, and that one man was Robert Lying Bob Rozier. Robert Rozier is a known drug user. In fact, we have sworn testimony that proves he repeatedly smoked crack cocaine. Robert Rozier is an admitted liar. Robert Rozier is the confessed murderer of 7 people. Ralph DeLoach, former teammate of Robert Rozier's, former roommate of Robert Rozier's, testified at trial, and I quote, "Bobby could tell bold-faced, straight-out lies that earned him the nickname Lying Bob in college. Robert Rozier abandoned his wife and young children. No one, not even Rozier's parents, would testify on behalf of his character during the trials. As a reward for testifying against Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Robert Lying Bob Rozier was paid by the government and was awarded a mere 22-year sentence after pleading guilty to killing 4 people, thus avoiding the electric chair. And after serving only 7 of those 22 years, Robert Lying Bob Rozier is up for parole any day now, and he'll enter the federal government's witness protection program. Please note that this man, Robert Lying Bob Rozier, is the key witness of the government against Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Robert Rozier, who admitted under oath, and I believe every word of this, that he stabbed someone who came up to him and touched him as he was urinating in the bushes one day 22 times with a knife for touching him on the back while he was urinating, for tapping him on the shoulder while he was taking a leak in the bushes. Stabbed the man 22 times, who testified under oath that he followed 2 homosexuals into their apartment in Coconut Grove and actually pinned one of them to the wall with his knife as he was murdering both of them, who testified time after killing people with his own hands and without any degree of remorse. Yeah, he'll be out next year. And then he's going to get a free ride. And all because he was able to put Yahweh Ben Yahweh in prison.
What are the consequences for Robert Rozier? A year for murder. A year for murder. Federal Witness Protection Program. He's going to be relocated, re-identified, and living as somebody's next-door neighbor. Robert Rozier.
Because he's under the Witness Protection Program, he will be supported by the federal government until he's relocated in somewhere back into civilian society under a fictitious name. He'll probably get some sort of federal job, postman, maintenance, janitor at the post office. I mean, there's some towns they can't send him to. There's other places they can. But he's on the public dole for probably the rest of his life. He'll be paying for Bob's meals and for his car and for his cocktails. Under somebody else's name, of course.
But clearly, a lot of individuals that were prosecuted and pretrial detained were done so on the evidence brought forth by Robert Rozier.
Mr. Rozier was obviously the common thread that sort of wove the fabric of the prosecution's case.
It all comes from the testimony of one person, a man named Robert Rozier,
a former Yahweh who is a confessed murderer of 4 people. And in exchange for a 22-year sentence for 4 murders, he promised the FBI that he could bring in Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Robert Rozier is your worst nightmare. He is a violent, cold, calculating, cocky man. So he made his lies fit their version. He read every document, he reviewed every report, he reviewed every sworn statement of every piece of evidence against him. He knew what the police knew. The state wants you to think that was corroboration. It wasn't corroboration. He knew about it before he ever started talking. So he made his lies fit their version. He saw crime scene photos. While he's sitting in jail, Robert Rozier was desperate, destitute, and facing death. And he does what comes naturally. He lied.
And Robert Rozier made statements that were truly outrageous. Robert Rozier, why is it that you could believe that he'll kill you, but you won't believe he'll lie to you? Robert Rozier had, I believe, good reason to lie because of the sentence he was given and the opportunity he was given to get out earlier. Yeah, he was 22 years for 4 murders, and he admitted to 3 other murders. It was argued to the jury, and what the government stated is that on the prior occasions that Robert Rozier had made statements, he had lied then, but that when he was testifying, he was telling the truth.
Robert Lying Bob Rozier was discredited as a witness because he was caught in lie after lie after lie. In legal terms, this means he was impeached.
I think Robert Rozier was impeached, was sliced, was diced, was destroyed.
You know, at one point in the case, I tried to put on evidence from a psychologist who'd done a psychological profile on Rozier based on standard and well-respected research on the elements of a psychopathic personality. And he had reviewed Rozier's grand jury testimony, his testimony in a civil RICO trial several years ago, and all of his trial testimony, including the cross-examination and the direct examination. And I think Bobby scored like 26 out of a possible 27 as a psychopath, pure psychopath, right up there with Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. I mean, this guy is the consummate liar. He lies so much he doesn't even know what's true.
So Rozier is a liar? Was Judas a liar with Jesus? He was falsely accused then, the same as I'm being falsely accused today. It's religious persecution, and I suspect deep racism.
Ralph DeLoche, a fellow who played for the Dallas Cowboys for the New York Jets. Ralph DeLoche, a probation officer, sworn to tell the truth every day of his life, works with juveniles. What did Ralph DeLoche tell you? From Sacramento, California, he traveled here to tell you something real important. He knew Robert Rozier 8 years before he ever met Yahweh Ben Yahweh. 8 years! And what was Robert Rozier saying 8 years before he met Yahweh Ben Yahweh? I can get away with anything I want. I won't be noticed. I won't be detected. It's just what he's trying to say Yahweh Ben Yahweh taught him. It's not true. It's not true. Yahweh Ben Yahweh didn't tell Robert Rozier this stuff. This was part of Robert Rozier before he ever heard of Yahweh Ben Yahweh, before he ever met Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Ralph DeLoche, he knew one thing. He knew Robert Rozier. What did he tell you about Robert Rozier? He had a nickname, Lying Bob. Lying Bob, that was his nickname through college. Because he was so manipulative, so deceitful, he had such a lack of discipline, he was uncoachable. Ralph DeLoche said all these things. Robert Rozier is not capable of following orders. He is incapable of following any rules. Robert Rozier wanted to use Yahweh Ben Yahweh, and he did. The tape shows you Yahweh Ben Yahweh. You don't have to like him. It's not to show you to like him, to dislike him. It's to show you him. This is Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
There are many people just like my son, treated like a problem, something someone had done. Keep the faith, hold on to faith, then your way will be free. Hold on to the faith, then your way will be free.
I'm only looking for you who want to be moral. I prefer every single one of you that don't want to be moral to leave. Nehemiah is steady breaking the rules around here. So his mind is not divine. He certainly isn't moving in a moral fashion. You want to build a kingdom separate from mine? Is that your aim? Well, see, you better get to be moral, so you better start practicing moral behavior. Because I'm not going to keep you here breaking the rules, not conforming, at the wrong state of mind, don't want to be upright, don't want to be right, don't want to be straightforward and honest and good, and all these words we have down here. If you spend your time studying those, you'll be all right if you accept it.
Robert Rozier pointed his finger at an innocent man to escape his date with death in the electric chair. Being conscious of the federal government's desire to bring Yahweh Ben Yahweh down, Robert Lying Bob Rozier took advantage of an opportunity to avoid death and to get out of jail by agreeing to testify against an innocent man, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. The federal jury was confused. They deliberated for 5.5 days and sent out at least 4 notes saying they were unable to decide or agree upon a decision because they were confused about how to apply RICO to the facts of the case. They convicted as a result of that confusion and out of ignorance. And when the same case was heard on the state level, without the confusion of RICO, the jury returned an immediate and unanimous verdict of not guilty as to all allegations, as to all defendants, especially Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
The federal case, which grouped so many people together, charged, had an underlying current of allegations that had really no bearing as to whether these defendants killed anyone.
We sought to take Janet Reno's deposition, and the judge said, well, we don't want to bother her, but we were permitted to take the depo of one of the highest ranking people in the office. And he stated under oath, he said the reason that we went there was because the case was weak, and we knew that if we threw them all together and called it racketeering, that there was a better chance of it sticking.
J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation from 1924 to 1972, issued a memo dated March 4, 1968, which admitted to the Bureau's secret agreement with the media to discredit targeted groups. The memo points to the government as the source of a slanderous media attack, even through black reporters. It states, in every instance, careful attention must be given to the proposal to ensure the targeted group is disrupted or discredited through the publicity and not merely publicized. The stated purpose of the slanderous campaign, quote, is to prevent sincere black leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them in 1. The responsible Negro community, 2. The white community, 3. And with the followers of the movement.
Every story, every article gets worse and worse and worse. I think the media is in a frenzy to rid this county of Yahweh Ben Yahweh and the Temple of Love.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh is not a criminal, has never been a criminal, and has never committed criminal acts. The government wanted my father so badly that they used the media to dampen his character and to make him appear to be guilty before other men, knowing full well that they were out to convict an innocent man.
Through the way it was released through the press, the government had done a publicity job of terrorizing the country. But if you read the papers, you would think that you were about to deal with a machine gun toting bunch of killers. But as time went on, everybody realized that this was hype. I understand it because it was politics. It was to get Yahweh Ben Yahweh out. Because the government really presented a scary case. And it was the sort of thing that was designed to scare people. Trudy Novicki, one of the prosecutors, literally walked through a graveyard in her closing argument. She had props of dead people in the courtroom, dead tombstones that she walked through. And, I mean, it was eerie to be there. And it was designed to intimidate and to scare the jurors. The only aim of it was to discredit the nation of Yahweh, was to discredit Yahweh Ben Yahweh. The other people who were charged and who were found not guilty or found guilty of conspiracy, they were just window dressing. They were just there. Any of those people could have been out on the street now if they had come in and said, Yahweh Ben Yahweh told me to do this, that, or the other. And everything would have been fine for them.
After a trial spanning 5 months and almost 2 years of pre-trial detention, it was time for the Yahweh case to go to the jury.
Let's take a look at what the jury had to consider. Number one, RICO, which the court nor the lawyers understand, and which the government used as a tool of confusion to create a smokescreen of guilt where there was none. And two, Robert Rochier, a pathological liar, a serial killer who would have done anything to get out of jail at the expense of innocent people.
I'd like for the individuals who view this to know that RICO is such a complex area of the law that it literally took a combination of, there were 17 defense lawyers and 2 prosecutors, so that's a total of 19 lawyers plus the judge. It took us essentially 2 days to fashion a RICO instruction.
Here is an actual set of the jury instructions in the federal case. Here is what the jury, none of which were lawyers, had to use to sort out the evidence in this case, which began in January of 1992 and ended in mid-May of 1992. Here is what the jury had to use to reach a verdict in the case of the United States of America versus Yahweh Ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh.
Oh, they were definitely confused. I think everybody was confused. I think the judge was confused. I think the prosecutors were confused because there was one of the questions that came back pointed out to us conflicts in the instructions that we had given them.
My client was charged in 1 count of the indictment. The jury came back guilty 1 count and not guilty the other count, which was a little surprising because they acquitted him of something he wasn't charged with.
I think it was pretty much impossible for the jury to fully understand all of the consequences, all of the language that was involved in that RICO instruction.
The jury for 3 days was sending out notes saying we're hopelessly deadlocked. We thought they were deadlocked on specific crimes or specific defendants. We later learned from interviews that were done through the newspaper reporters that they couldn't agree on what the heck the jury instructions meant.
None of the defendants were found guilty of racketeering in the federal trial. But Yahweh Ben Yahweh and 6 out of 16 of his co-defendants were convicted of conspiracy to commit RICO.
The conviction was for conspiracy. Yes, as I was beginning to say, it is considered one of the prosecutor's favorite tools. Conspiracy says that you all got together and talked about doing something. Historically, it is the charge that jurors will, when pushed, convict upon.
When the acquittals came out and the mistrials on the vast majority of the charges, I think out of 21 potential counts on all 16 defendants, that there were 6 convictions and everyone else was either acquitted or mistried. The idea that while one prosecutor was standing in front of the camera saying, we've heard that the jury has spoken, we don't agree with what they've said, but we will honor it, and the other prosecutor is over there in a back room filling out charges to have people who've just been acquitted by a jury who said, we didn't believe anything that this one witness, Robert Rozier, said.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh, along with 4 of his co-defendants, 3 of whom who had already been released from federal custody, were indicted by the state of Florida. While the federal prosecutor was out front proclaiming that they would honor the jury's verdicts, the state's attorney, Trudy Novicki, who had been loaned to the federal government to help try the federal case, was in the back room filling out new charges against Yahweh Ben Yahweh on the state level. This means that they were recharged using the same identical criminal acts, using the same prosecutor, Trudy Novicki, using the same government's witnesses, and using the same evidence. The difference? No RICO, no confusion, just the facts. The result? Not guilty.
The state of Florida versus Yahweh Ben Yahweh. We, the jury at Miami-Dade County, Florida, the 17th day of December, 1992, find the defendant Yahweh Ben Yahweh not guilty of the offense as to first-degree murder.
And I think the result in the state court was a absolutely perfect example of it. They had a 2-week trial, and the jury was out for 2 hours. They probably picked a foreman, had lunch, and then went out and threw the case out of the courthouse.
It has to do with the fact that in the federal case, they were permitted to bring in so much stuff legally. In the state case, they had to try a true case of murder. They had to prove that these men had committed a murder, and or that Yahweh Ben Yahweh had instructed them to commit a murder. And it just couldn't be done. And I think that's basically the difference. And they came back very quickly, too, with that verdict in the state murder trial, the not guilty verdict. After us it took us a week to pick a jury, it took us a week to try the case, and they came back with a verdict in 2 hours, and that included them ordering and eating their dinner. So I thought that they were pretty certain that there was no case.
After hearing all the facts of the case, minus the confusion of RICO, the state jury clearly saw that Yahweh Ben Yahweh and his co-defendants were innocent men. However, because of the conviction for conspiracy in the federal case, Yahweh Ben Yahweh was sentenced to spend 18 years of his life in the federal penitentiary at Lewisburg, Pennsylvania.
Lewisburg is the only federal maximum security penitentiary on the east coast of the United States. It is one of America's toughest and most secure prisons, housing only violent career criminals.
These are the guidelines used by the Federal Bureau of Prisons to designate where particular inmates will go. These guidelines reserve Lewisburg Penitentiary for inmates who have been sentenced to 25 years to life. Yahweh Ben Yahweh does not belong at Lewisburg Penitentiary, if for no other reason than the fact that he was sentenced to 18 years. After arriving at Lewisburg Penitentiary, Yahweh Ben Yahweh was stalked by another inmate. Supporters of the Nation of Yahweh have requested that Yahweh Ben Yahweh be moved to an appropriate facility. As of yet, federal prison officials have ignored that request.
This is the place where they sent Yahweh Ben Yahweh, whom they label a first-time offender, a man who has never harmed anyone, a man who has never broken the law in his life, never even had a parking ticket.
Lewisburg is the modern-day equivalent of a leper's colony. Folk are sent to Lewisburg to die or to serve impossible sentences with no hope of ever coming home. It's like a terminal institution. A lot of guys have on their release date death, which means you never go home. It is like a super, ultra, maximum security institution. So if you got any leadership ability or any organizational skill, and you can influence other folk, they put you in a place like Lewisburg where they reduce or minimize your influence, your contact, and then the leadership ability you may have is nil, is reduced to nothing.
Have you ever seen or know of anyone ever being killed in prison?
Yes. In fact, Lewisburg is the only prison, the only prison I've been in that I saw death on a frequent basis. I mean, it was no problem to go to eat, sit at the table, and the guy right next to you sit at the next table where the knife ran right through his throat while you're eating, and blood sprouting all over, and you get up and everybody break out running. You go down the hall and you think that was something. You see another guy laying in the hall dead. They call Lewisburg the graveyard. They call it the big house, the place that nobody ever wanted to go. It's the place where it's like never land, where you never ever come home, not walking.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh remains incarcerated at Lewisburg Penitentiary, while his attorneys continue to press for his transfer. A national grassroots campaign is being organized by supporters and friends of the Nation of Yahweh to finally expose the massive injustices against Yahweh Ben Yahweh in the federal case.
And no matter what has been said and what has been done, I know my brother. And I know him to be sweet, loving, kind, industrious, and always trying to encourage one to be the best that they can be.
But he worked and made his own way and enrolled in Texas University. And I tried to give him a little something. I wanted to give him a little something, but I can't remember him ever receiving anything. He wanted to make it on his own. He wanted to provide for himself. And I say he did a good job. He never was in trouble. We never had any problems with him. None whatsoever. He was mannerable, intelligent, and everybody, if they didn't love him, I don't know why. Because he had a personality which was loving. And he yet has that personality.
We don't need to wait for others to do what we know that we must do. So says Yahweh Ben Yahweh. We don't need to wait on a government stipend to pave the way. So says Yahweh Ben Yahweh. We don't need to be dependent on nobody but ourselves. So says Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Pool your pennies, pool your dollars, pool your talents, pool your energy, and the world is yours. Who is this man, Yahweh Ben Yahweh?
Sparkling light buildings are one trademark of Yahweh developments. Many in the economically depressed neighborhoods where they operate say lowered crime rates are another.
It was a lot of street crimes, a lot of prostitution, drug activity, and any place there, it gets cleaned up.
We're very pleased to present to you the Whitney M. Young Jr. Memorial Humanitarian Award in Economic Development, presented to Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
And I would like to thank all of you of our community of all races, creeds, and colors. I love you all for a better Miami. Thank you.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh is received by men and women of renowned power, wealth, and influence, such as Ben Chavis, civil rights activist, syndicated columnist, and president of the NAACP. Actor, singer, and songwriter Philip Michael Thomas, who starred in the major motion picture Sparkle and the hit TV series Miami Vice. Singer Leona Mitchell. Whitman Mayo of the hit TV series Sanford and Son, better known as Grady. Molly Gibbs of the hit TV series 227 and The Jeffersons. And Dorothy Heights, president of the National Council of Negro Women.
There are 104 chemical elements that we have studied. Yahweh University? Yes, sir! Please recite the chemical elements. Chemical elements. ATMAC, aluminum AL, magnesium AM, antimony AZ, argon AR, oxidate AS, acetylene AT, barium BA, berkelium BK, beryllium BE, bismuth BI, boron B, bromine BR, cadmium CD, calcium CA, californium CL, carbon C, cerium CE, cesium CS, chlorine CL, chlorium CR.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh took that which was considered works of art and created true masterpieces. These masterpieces are the aesthetic minds of Yahweh's University, and they believe that one can create beauty in life by circumfusing life with beauty. This extreme degree of mental resplendency, exquisiteness, and liveliness in a university has caused me to be the competent, able, proficient, efficient, and mentally puissant entity that stands before you this day.
Consider what time it is. And since it is now time for you to take over and rule, and I'm giving you positions of rulership in our kingdom, I'm giving every one of you a position of rulership. You're going to be running a $5 million store enterprise, each of you being the manager of your own business within that store. And since I understand the value of time and I don't want you to be late, then I have a very special gift for each one of you. Let's see. Let's see what it is.
Oh.
Which is a gold watch.
It has been documented that the government of America is opposed to the rise of black people to real freedom. A group of recently revealed memos from former FBI officers across the nation show that the organization is engaged in an overt policy to destroy the good works of my father Yahweh, which stand as the model for black excellence. The solution is we must unite politically, educationally, socially, economically, and morally. I love you all, I respect all nations, and I'm inviting you all to one soul. So let everything that has breath
Yahweh University, please stand. Number of place values.
Number of place values. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion, 10 trillion, 100 trillion, quadrillion, 10 quadrillion, 100 quadrillion, quintillion, 10 quintillion, 100 quintillion, sextillion.
time for all moral people of the earth who are tired of seeing injustice take place in this country to take a stand for that which is right. You want to show that you're God-loving people? Take a stand for that which is right. It doesn't matter as to what religion you say you are of. If you say you love God, then you'll take a stand in that which is right.
Recently uncovered evidence suppressed by the federal government clearly shows that Yahweh Ben Yahweh is innocent. This is another example of the systemic racism and corruption within the criminal justice system.
Which is really the Obama, Clinton, and Biden situation. They created all these laws that are unjust for us. Trump comes in and he opens the prison house like Isaiah 61 says with the Prison Reform Act. So the people that are systemic racists are these white Democrat Confederate rebel bastards from hell, not the Republicans. Thank God for President Trump.
Like Yahweh Ben Yahweh, there are many cases of innocent black men and community leaders who were targeted for persecution and prosecution by the government. The media has isolated these cases, refused to disclose all the facts, continues to distort the truth, and misleads public opinion. Therefore, the public is unaware of the systematic pattern of racism and corruption within the criminal justice system. The case of Yahweh Ben Yahweh of Miami, Florida, is linked to the cases of Geronimo Pratt of California, Mumia Abu Jamal in Pennsylvania, Clarence Brantley and Gary Graham in Texas, Leonard Peltier in South Dakota, Daruba Ben Wahad in New York, and the Reverend Ben Chavis in North Carolina, and many, many others around the nation. These men are all innocent, but were falsely accused and wrongly convicted. All served time. Some were later exonerated and freed, but still others, like Yahweh Ben Yahweh, remain in prison. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Yahweh Ben Yahweh is innocent. And his attorneys and the Justice Coalition for Yahweh Ben Yahweh have the legal proof that he is.
From the Justice Coalition. On June 14th, 1995, owners of the Barclay Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia, supported by brothers and sisters in the nation of Yahweh, held a press conference. Here is that press conference.
Good morning. We, the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, are announcing that because of the continuing persecution by the federal government, it will no longer be possible for the believers in God Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, to own or manage the Barclay Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. In their pursuit to systematically wipe out the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, the dark side of the American federal government and their agents have recently committed the following acts. 1, the intimidation of hotel volunteers through forced interrogations. 2, the intimidation of hotel associates and suppliers, telling them, "You must not know what kind of people you are doing business with," or "Do you know what their leader is in jail for?" 3, the intimidation of the Barclay Hotel mortgage holder. The federal government has been successful in their smear and fear campaign. A legal business cannot survive in this kind of climate. So as of June 12, 1995, the Barclay Hotel is no longer owned or managed by believers in Almighty God, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh. Religion has been with mankind forever. It was a major factor in the European colonization of this country. Your ancestors felt whatever dangers they might encounter on their journey would be less than the danger of religious persecution at home. Our spiritual leader, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, was jailed for allegedly talking about something that never happened. Talking about something that never happened. Whenever any allegations against Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, and the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, were brought up in state court where cases are tried on the evidence, all have been found not guilty or dismissed. It was only through the use of the RICO statute that the federal government was able to cast a net of suspicion using testimony from a confessed killer who was cutting a deal for his own life. And it has since been proven that that same federal witness lied under oath. From Federal Judge Rucker, who stated that he did not understand why this case was being tried in his court, to dozens of attorneys, no one understands why this case was ever tried at all. Why were SWAT teams used to arrest unarmed women and children? Why have relatives of those charged been brutally interrogated? Why have innocent people been kept in jail for years without trial? We would like to end this statement with an appeal to those who are responsible for the past and present persecution of the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh. You and we both know that Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, is being held for reasons other than those stated. In our businesses, do you now demand our bodies and our blood? We're becoming your slaves again, getting the release of our spiritual leader. We cannot exist apart from our religion, nor can we exist without our Father, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. So what are your demands? We ask that the upright men and women of the world who seek to stand on the square of righteousness, is there any mercy for the widow's son, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who has been illegally and immorally bound in chains, hung on the cross, and judicially murdered for the sins of the world? Is there any justice for the children of Hiram? Is there any justice for the children of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the children of the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh? Again, as of Monday, June 12th, 1995, the Barclay Hotel is no longer owned or managed by believers in Almighty God, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh.
There's a cancer growing within the American federal government. This cancer was first visible on November 7th, 1990, when they launched a 7-state raid against Yahweh Ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh. For 15 years, this dark shadow lurking in the federal government spent millions of tax dollars preparing for this moment. The federal SWAT teams detained hundreds of men, women, and children. They raided the homes and businesses of the nation of Yahweh and found nothing illegal. This should not have surprised anyone, since Yahweh Ben Yahweh teaches only morality and respect for the law. In our reporting on the wrongful arrest and conviction of Yahweh Ben Yahweh, we showed you how the federal government used the testimony of a confessed murderer who was plea bargaining for his life. In our reporting, we showed you that the federal government used the same point men in state court and how quickly all these cases were dismissed or found not guilty because there was no evidence. The Judas from federal court was not believed by any state jury or judge. In spite of this being the land of the free, there are some within the federal government that plainly want the nation of Yahweh destroyed. Let's start by examining the 1980s. During a time when the nation of Yahweh was prospering economically by hard work,
The nation of Yahweh prospered. The businesses included a manufacturing plant, convention center, hotels and motels, bus lines, supermarkets, a publishing company, apartment buildings, and a national school system to rescue the children.
Yahweh University.
Yes, ma'am.
Please recite number of place values.
Number of place values. 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, 9 million, decillion, undecillion, deodecillion, tridecillion, quadrodecillion, quindecillion, sextillion, septillion, octodecillion, nodecillion, bigillion. There are 66 units of Cyprus and a bigillion. There are 22 sets of threes and a bigillion. There are 23 units of Cyprus that follow a bigillion. There are 21 sets of threes that follow a bigillion.
work and honest labor. They did it in what is referred to as low-income or depressed areas, what we used to call the ghetto. The nation of Yahweh opened businesses, stores, hotels, in cities all across America, and they were a success. Can you imagine how some federal agencies felt after they had spent millions trying to do the same thing? The man has done what many have only planned of doing. Thank you.
That's why I'm telling all of my white Republican brothers out there, you stand up for this man. I lived it. I know they're lying bastards, and I know they stink unto hell. President Trump has given his life for us, and we have to give our lives for him. Because Yahweh Ben Yahweh told me when we were on Broadway in New York and we met the then future president, Trump, Yahweh Ben Yahweh said, see this man here, son? After he finished talking to me, he said, now this man here will be a perfect president. He's a white European Gentile. He's not afraid of these Canaanites. He'll stand up to him. He has his own money. He's not found wanting. He'll do it because it's right to do it. That's what we need, is a man like that who's brave in the fight for us. So in 2011, President Trump decided he was going to run for president. Everybody thought I wasn't going to help nobody run before the primary was over because I said I wasn't. But when Trump decided to run, I jumped in quick and I helped him. I brought my band out there on April 16th, 2011, and we endorsed him and everything, and the crowd went crazy. That's why I helped Trump, because Yahweh Ben Yahweh told me he was the man. So remember, I'm that guy that they believed as a kid that I was going to be the over-righteous kid. I never broke any kind of a law. I went all the way through this Yahweh trial, and when in the Yahweh trial, they actually said I was found innocent because they found out that Robert Rozier was lying when he said that he saw me do something, and then Judge Alcee Hastings finds out that you're lying. You were in jail during the time that you said you saw Maurice Michael, the black man, do something. So this is what they do to the innocent. So what in the hell you think they're doing to Trump? How y'all doing? I'm Michael, Blacks for Trump. I'm here with Nora Mitchell, one of the greatest soprano opera singers in the world, which is the little sister to Yahweh Ben Yahweh, who I call the Son of God, and his son, Maccabees, Israel. I'm here to let you know that we want Yahweh Ben Yahweh to be pardoned by President Trump.
Yes, we do. I want my brother to be pardoned.
I would like my father to be pardoned. There's Nora Mitchell, Maccabees, Michael, Blacks for Trump.